Forget the postcards of accordion players and mime artists. Paris is not a museum. It is a high-functioning ego with a river running through it. This is a city that has spent the last 1,000 years perfecting the art of being better than you. And to be honest, they've done a pretty good job. The vibe here isn't just romance. That's what they sell to the tourists, so they'll buy overpriced plastic towers. The real vibe is a potent cocktail of intellectual arrogance, breathtaking aesthetics, and a refusal to eat bread that wasn't baked 4 hours ago. It is a city of no, you can't sit there. No, the kitchen is closed. No, your French is offensive. But once you earn a oui, it feels like winning an Olympic medal. Paris is divided into 20 arrondissements, spiraling out like a snail shell. Each one thinks it's the center of the universe. You have the Rive Droite, the right bank, which is where the money, the fashion, and the power live. Then you have the Rive Gauche, the left bank, where the ghosts of Hemingway and Sartre are still complaining about the price of wine while students pretend to read philosophy. It's a city where you can walk for 5 miles and never see a building that isn't beautiful, which eventually leads to a specific kind of visual fatigue. You start seeing a 17th century palace and think, ugh, another one? Where's the nearest pharmacy? The Grand Walk. From decadence to the dirt. If you want to feel the city's pulse, don't take the metro. The metro is a subterranean metal tube that smells of damp wool and regret. Walk. Start at the Place de la Concorde. This is where they chopped off the king's head. Standing here, looking up the Champs-Élysées toward the Arc de Triomphe, you realize that French architecture is essentially a way of saying, look how much space we can dominate. Don't walk up the Champs-Élysées. It's a retail wasteland filled with people from around the world and luxury stores that won't let you in. Instead, cut through the Tuileries garden. This is where the Parisians go to see and be seen while sitting on those iconic green metal chairs. If you see someone actually relaxing, they're probably a tourist. A Parisian sits with a level of posture that suggests they have a baguette taped to their spine. Cross the Pont Royal to the left bank and head towards Saint-Germain-des-Prés. This was the epicenter of cool in the 1950s. Now, it's where billionaires go to buy shirts that look like they cost 20 euros but actually cost 2,000. Walk past Les Deux Mégots and Café de Flore. Don't sit there unless you want to pay 12 euros for a café crème and be ignored by a waiter who has a PhD in existentialism. Instead, duck into the side streets like Rue de Furstenberg. It is one of the most beautiful squares in the world, tucked away like a secret. Continue your walk toward the Palais de Luxembourg. The gardens here are the gold standard of urban parks. You'll see old men playing boules with a level of intensity usually reserved for nuclear physics. From here, it's a short climb up to the Pantheon in the Latin Quarter. This is where the great men of France are buried: Voltaire, Rousseau, Victor Hugo. It's a giant stone reminder that in France, being an intellectual is the highest form of celebrity. The Parisian palate. Eating as a religion. In Paris, food is not fuel. It is a social contract. If you eat a sandwich while walking, the locals will look at you as if you are dismembering a puppy. You sit, you take 2 hours, you drink wine at lunch because the afternoon is something to be endured, not conquered. For the quintessential, highly rated experience that isn't a tourist trap, you go to Le Comptoir du Relais in the Odéon. It is a tiny, cramped bistro run by Yves Camdebord, the king of bistronomy. You can't book for lunch, you just show up and wait. You'll be squeezed in next to a fashion editor and a plumber, eating a terrine that will make you want to weep. It is loud, it is hectic, and it is perfect. If you want the highly reviewed modern vibe, you head to the 11th arrondissement. This is the Brooklyn of Paris, but with better scarves. Go to Septime. It is one of the hardest tables to get in the world. The food is new French, stripped back, vegetable forward, and incredibly sophisticated. It's the kind of place where the waiter explains the provenance of the radish for 5 minutes. If you can't get in, their wine bar across the street, Septime La Cave, is where the cool kids hang out, drinking natural wine that tastes slightly like fermented dirt, but in a refined way. For a classic experience that feels like a movie set, you go to Le Grand Colbert. It's a brasserie in the 2nd arrondissement with high ceilings, brass fittings, and waiters in long white aprons who move with the grace of ballet dancers. Order the oysters and the sole meunière. It's expensive, it's traditional, and it's where you go when you want to feel like you finally arrived in the Paris of your dreams. But the must-eat for the soul of Paris is the boulangerie. Find du pain et des idées near the Canal Saint-Martin. Order the pistachio chocolate escargot. It is a pastry so flaky and butter-dense that it should require a medical permit to purchase. Take it to the edge of the canal, dangle your legs over the water, and watch the locals play molki. This is the real Paris, the one that exists between the monuments. The hidden pulse. From cemeteries to canals. To understand the darker side of the city's vibe, you have to go to Père Lachaise Cemetery. It is the most visited cemetery in the world, which is a weird flex, but okay. It's a city of the dead, with cobblestone streets and tiny stone houses. You'll find Jim Morrison's grave, usually covered in chewing gum and cigarettes, and Oscar Wilde's grave, which is covered in lipstick kisses. But the real joy is just getting lost in the divisions. It's where Paris stores its history when it's finished with it. Finally, wrap up your day at Le Barave in the Marais. It's a wine shop and bar where you pick a bottle from the shelf, pay a small corkage fee, and sit on the sidewalk with a plate of cheese and charcuterie. As the sun sets and the limestone buildings turn that specific Parisian gold, you'll realize that for all its grumpiness and its nons, this city has a way of making you feel like your life is a little more cinematic than it actually is. So, you've survived the left bank and the stuffy oysters of the second arrondissement. Now, it's time to climb. We're heading to Montmartre, a place that is simultaneously the most beautiful village in Europe and a colossal tourist trap designed to extract every last euro from your pocket. This is the 18th arrondissement, a hilltop limestone crown that used to be outside the city limits. That's why it became a haven for the bohemians, the drinkers, and the painters who couldn't afford a loaf of bread in the center. The vibe here is faded glamour meets high-velocity pickpocketing. You walk up the steep stairs, and trust me, there are a lot of them, and the air changes. It feels like a movie set for a film that's been running for 100 years. You have the Sacré-Cœur, that giant white wedding cake of a church sitting at the summit. It's built from travertine stone that actually bleeds white when it rains, keeping it perpetually ghostly and clean while the rest of the city turns gray with soot. Don't spend too much time inside. The real show is on the steps. You'll see musicians, scammers trying to tie friendship bracelets around your wrist, and thousands of people waiting for the sunset. But if you want the real Montmartre, you turn your back on the church and walk toward the Place du Tertre. Yes, it's full of portrait artists who will insist you have the bone structure of a young Brigitte Bardot, just to get you to sit down. But the side streets are where the ghosts live. Walk past Le Lapin Agile, the oldest cabaret in Paris. Picasso used to trade sketches for drinks here. It's a tiny pink building that looks like it belongs in a fairy tale. Just down the road is the Vigne de Montmartre, the last functional vineyard in the city. The wine it produces is, frankly, terrible. It tastes like vinegar and crushed dreams. But the fact that it exists in the middle of a metropolis is a testament to the Parisian refusal to let go of their agricultural roots. Now, let's talk about the Rue Saint-Honoré. This is the high-fashion ritual. If Montmartre is for the dreamers, Saint-Honoré is for the predators. This is where the world's most expensive brands have their flagship stores. The vibe here is aggressive elegance. You'll see women walking poodles that cost more than your car and men in suits so sharp they could cut glass. The must-eat in this neighborhood is Angelina. It is a tea room that looks like the inside of a jewelry box. You are here for one thing, the L'Africain hot chocolate. It is so thick you could probably use it as industrial adhesive. It's served with a bowl of whipped cream, and drinking it is a religious experience. If you finish the whole thing, you'll need a nap and possibly a cardiologist, but it's worth it. For something savory and highly reviewed, you find La Bise at Pavillon Le Doyen. It's a sushi counter that has redefined Japanese dining in Paris. It's minimalist, it's astronomical in price, and it's where the fashion elite go to eat things that were flown in from the Tsukiji market that morning. But let's get weird. We're going underground. The Catacombs of Paris are the ultimate hidden vibe. 6 million skeletons are neatly stacked in a labyrinth of tunnels 20 meters below the street. It's the city's basement of bones. The air is cool, damp, and smells of old limestone. It's a humbling experience to walk past miles of skulls and realize that whether you were a king or a peasant, you end up in the same stack. It's the most non-Parisian place in Paris because there's no one there to tell you your outfit is out of season. When you resurface, you'll need a drink. Head to the Canal Saint-Martin in the 10th. This is where the young, the bobos, bourgeois bohemians, and the rebels hang out. They don't go to fancy bars, they buy a bottle of wine from a local shop and sit on the edge of the iron bridges. The must-eat here is Le Verre Volé. It started as a wine shop and turned into a tiny bistro that basically invented the natural wine movement in Paris. The food is unapologetic. You might get a plate of boudin noir, blood sausage, that looks terrifying but tastes like heaven. The staff will treat you with a level of indifference that borders on performance art, but if you show an interest in the wine, they'll open up. If you want the best, highly rated burger in the city, go to PNY, Paris, New York. It sounds sacrilegious to eat a burger in Paris, but they take it more seriously than the Americans do. The beef is aged, the buns are artisanal, and the vibe is neon-soaked 80s futurism. It's the perfect place to sit and realize that Paris isn't just about the past. It's a city that is constantly trying to figure out how to be modern without losing its soul. Finally, we have to talk about the Palais de Tokyo. It is a non-museum museum. It stays open until midnight and focuses on contemporary art that is often confusing, occasionally offensive, and always interesting. The vibe is raw concrete, massive scale, and total creative freedom. It's where the cool Paris hides. After you've looked at an installation made of recycled plastic and discarded hopes, go to the museum's restaurant, Bambini. It's a high-energy Italian spot with a terrace that has one of the best views of the Eiffel Tower across the river. Watching these vistas for free is a steal, but subscribing is the upgrade this channel needs to keep moving. Tap the bell so you're the first to arrive at our next destination. Think of it as a digital boarding pass that actually gets you somewhere interesting. Paris is a city of contradictions. It's a place that worships its history but is obsessed with the next trend. It's a city that can be incredibly cold to strangers, but then you'll see two people sharing a pizza on a park bench, and it'll break your heart. It's not a city you visit to see things. It's a city you visit to learn how to live. You learn that the quality of your coffee matters. You learn that walking is a form of meditation. And you learn that no matter how many times you've seen the Eiffel Tower, when the lights start to sparkle on the hour, you'll still stop and look.